When engaging in rideshare, whether driving for Uber or Lyft, number one safety tip, you should be armed. Every trip, every passenger, every single damn time. Nevertheless, we're going to discuss some of the safety tips coming from Uber that really pissed me off personally, but I want to run them by you folks and see what you think. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim with another ride sharing video. Now, these safety tips came directly from Uber themselves. In my humble opinion, many of them are contradictory. Others are downright insulting. Nevertheless, we'll cover them. We'll talk about the basis of why they don't make sense in many cases. And we'll provide some of our own at the end, which I do believe are valid. Nevertheless, number one, verify your rider. How the hell can you verify your rider when Uber routinely lets anyone request a trip? There is no specification to the passenger that you must accompany whoever you book a trip for any given time. We know if you deal with the after club crowd, how many of us have had someone, maybe even the bar itself, book a ride for a drunk patron? Even Uber themselves promote that this is a safe way to get home and avoid a DUI if you're drunk. Verify your rider when so many riders are taking trips home or wherever the hell they're going that was not booked by them. Just insulting to even tell that to the drivers. But if you can, make the damn attempt to verify who's getting in your car. But understand what I said actually applies. Stay focused on driving. That's number two. Also, very similar to number one, it's giving you advice that goes contradictory to what actually happens. How the hell can you stay focused on driving or have them suggest that when they're constantly sending you trips, expecting you to make a choice whether you will accept or decline a trip in less than 10 seconds? Anyone in the business has been driving. All of a sudden, your phone notifies you have a trip, and you got 10 seconds to decide if the trip is worth your while. Tell me that's not distracted driving. So the idea that you should stay focused just makes no damn sense at all when they send you these trips and oftentimes do not even provide you with the proper logistics to help you make a decision whether the trip is profitable or not. Next, protect your personal information. I do believe that's a valuable tip. There's a hell of a lot of scams involved in ride sharing. Drivers are receiving calls constantly from individuals posing as an employee of the rideshare companies only to have someone access their bank account and take their entire day's earnings. Why drivers are still falling for this shit in 2024 is a bit surprising, but there's no shortage of people that are. What Uber and Lyft could do is go further in making drivers know that they'll never call. That's as simple as that. Or provide you with some type of code that they will use when they call or something of that nature. It shouldn't be so easy to convince a driver that somebody on the other end of the phone is calling from Uber or Lyft. But it is happening, so we wanted to talk about it. Next, spread the word. Buckle up. No shit, Sherlock. Wearing a seatbelt is the law in just about every state, every city, every town, every municipality. So I don't know why they would even bring that up. But you know what the problem is? Entitled passengers. If you're driving and you tell one of your passengers in the back seat, you need to buckle up before this trip begins, it can turn into a damn fight. A lot of passengers do not want the drivers to tell them shit. Put your child in the car seat. Put out the cigarettes. You can't get in my car drinking alcohol. This stuff has began to be the basis of violence for a hell of a lot of drivers. So while I am a fan of suggesting folks buckle up, understand entitled passengers don't want you telling them to do a damn thing. And it can lead to a fight, violence, or even something worse. We've covered a number of stories where that has happened. Next, watch for pedestrians and cyclists. Do you really have to tell that to a driver? That is self-explanatory, so I don't think there's worthy of covering that at all. But concluding on, keep your drop-offs legal. Why would you tell that? Why would you even assume that a Uber or Lyft driver wants to make an illegal drop-off? Fact is, if you're dealing with legal and illegal drop-offs, it's because one of the passengers is likely involving the driver in a drug deal. That's how shit gets to be illegal. And there's not a lot the driver can do in those cases. And if they do step in and try to control the circumstance, just like with the buckle up comment, could result in violence. And like I stated, it has happened. Continuing on, follow your intuition. Damn right on this one. Now, we talked about intuition, where I have stated before, even though I look like what I look like, I am fond of folks who state that they discriminate. There are certain neighborhoods that it is not safe to necessarily engage in ride sharing. And I've talked about young black males in terms of violent felonies. I've had some folks push back. Why the hell are you hammering black guys? Well, I don't want to hammer black guys. I don't want to come across as if I hate my own kind, damn it. But fact is, now that I've been covering the incidents taking place with drivers for about 3 years now, when it comes to a driver being victimized in the form of a violent felony, carjacking, being brutally assaulted and or murdered, the overwhelming majority of assailants are black males, young black males. I'm not going to pretend like it's Chinese guys doing this shit. It's young black males. I've covered a bunch of them. It's happened so much that some of my earlier stories, you're now having some of those folks, court dates come to a conclusion and the folks are starting to be sentenced. Now, I had a passenger just get 30-something years in prison, but it's almost overwhelmingly black people, black guys, black men. But I do believe in following your intuition. It goes beyond just discriminating in the types of people. Deserted areas, you probably shouldn't pick up trips. What do we say in regards to nothing happens good after midnight? Driving in the wee hours of the morning increases the statistical probability of a bad outcome. So when I say nothing good happens after midnight, take it as you may. The after club crowd, yeah, it's nice to get plenty of traffic with people wanting to go to and from the clubs and wanting to go home at 2 a.m., but that is when bad shit happens. So, and picking up drunk passengers comes with inherent risk. Not to mention the idea of, or the notion of an angry drunk, but folks vomiting your vehicles and shit like that. How many of you ever gotten to somebody's house? The dude was so damn drunk and talkative, didn't want to get out of the car at his own house. Have you had that happen? My assumption is all veteran drivers have had passengers where you damn near want to tell them, okay, that's nice, that's cool, get the fuck out. I got other trips coming up. That happens all the time. You start dealing with inebriated passengers, folks who are drunk, maybe high on something or even out of their mind on pills or some stuff like that, which happens on a Friday and Saturday night. Once again, you increase the risk of bad outcomes. And last but not least, avoid medical patients, teens, things like schools and hospitals. We talked about that in a number of videos as well. So when they say follow your intuition, understand that goes above and beyond what Uber or Lyft wants you to do. Uber makes money off of teenagers being able to book rides. That's why they promoted teens. You as a driver, it's not a good idea to have unaccompanied minors in your vehicle. You're not going to get a tip from a teenager, first of all. So that's one bad strike dealing with teens. But as I pointed out, teens cause other problems. So I wouldn't advise dealing with teens. We talked about Uber Health. Now they got this Uber baby scripts for picking up pregnant women. Avoid all of that shit. Just avoid. There's nothing good going to come out of that stuff. Many cases you're not going to get a tip. And there is probability that bad shit can go wrong. So when they say follow your intuition, take it above and beyond what Uber and Lyft may want you to do. Next, this one is actually kind of important that they suggested. Be kind and respectful. I'm going to twist the statement and give it to you this way. Be prepared to de-escalate situations at all times and listen to your passengers. When I say de-escalate, someone is bitching about you not taking the proper way home. You're taking a long way trying to charge more money. We know that ain't true. You're not going to make shit extra by taking someone a few extra blocks as an Uber or Lyft driver. We don't make enough money to have it worthwhile to try to take a long way around and get somebody somewhere. But the passengers don't know that. So if a passenger starts bitching about something you're doing, nip it in the bud before it gets out of hand. Be prepared to de-escalate situations that may not be your fault. That's what be kind and respectful means. Somebody's in your vehicle bitching and complaining about something or things like that. Try to either calm them down or peacefully get them out of your vehicle as expeditiously as possible, because angry folks can often turn into violent folks. Once again, happens all the time. We've covered it quite often. Whether it's somebody wanting to add an extra stop and you telling them no. Folks don't want to put seatbelts on, don't want to put their children in straps. I've had trips where more folks want to get in the car than I had seatbelts for the amount of passengers. That's obviously a moving violation. Passengers don't give a damn about that. You got 7 or 8 young men that want to go get to the club. They'll sit all over each other and say, you can squeeze us all in there. The fact that if you get pulled over, it's going to be a moving violation on you is not even entering their mind, because they're not going to pay a damn thing for it anyway. They'll just stand by the curb and wait for the next car and leave you with the officer at the side of the road. So just understand, be prepared to de-escalate situations before they get out of hand. Now, I like some of the things they provided, but let me give you my own. And their last suggestion was give Uber feedback, which is a load of bullshit. We know a lot of times when you respond to Uber or Lyft, you're corresponding with a damn robot, a bot, or artificial intelligence and some shit like that. They don't even get back to us in a timely manner. So giving Uber or Lyft feedback, in my opinion, is essentially a waste of time. It's really, how many of you folks, by way of the comments, how many of you folks have actually reached out to Uber or Lyft and received a response that you knew was not coming from a human being, or the response you got didn't have a damn thing to do with what you were contacting them for? But pre-recorded answer. I've gotten them before, where you want to talk about you didn't get paid for a trip or something like that, and the response they gave you could apply to a million different questions. They sent something that was generalized statement that they're sending this shit to everybody. So giving Uber feedback, in my opinion, is a waste of time. But giving you some suggestions that, come from the heart. We talked about a couple of these during the video. Number 1, avoid driving after dark. I've said it twice already. Nothing good happens after midnight. Avoid driving after dark. It is what it is. And I know a lot of folks, like I said, the after club crowd, all of that shit, folks want to drive, but the statistical probability of a bad outcome increases significantly once the sun has went down. And then when you start getting at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, the after club crowd, clubs get out at 2 a.m. Around 2:33. Just about everybody who wanted to go home has gotten home, but you still take that next ride or two, that 3:30, 4 a.m. That shit's dangerous. That shit is really dangerous at that point. There's nobody on the street but cops and criminals. So avoid driving at the dark. That's just, my humble advice. And as you know, I told you about avoid picking up mental patients, teenagers, going to health facilities and certainly schools and shit like that. I'm not a fan of picking up animals either. Once again, just like with teenagers, Uber and Lyft don't want you discriminating against passengers with animals. The overwhelming outcome is you're not going to generally have any issue if you pick up an animal in terms of your safety, but you could. You're not likely to get any type of benefit by picking up an animal, but you could be taking on an extra minuscule amount of risk. So if you can avoid animals, I suggest doing that too. I see animals by the side of the curb. I'll cancel the trip and drive off. I've done it plenty of times. Next, I told you about listening to your passenger. You can oftentimes hear code words, particularly if you're on a drug deal. I'll be at your house in a couple minutes. Make sure you have them chickens ready for me. That person is not going to pick up some fucking chicken. Listen to your passengers. Don't be tuned into the radio so much that you don't hear what's going on behind you. People in your car could be plotting shit while you're driving them from point A to point B. And in some cases, you may be involved in the shit they're plotting. Don't ever be above listening to what's coming out of your passenger's mouth. And what did we say at the beginning of the video? Last piece of advice. Every trip, every passenger, every single damn time, you should be armed. Beginning with mace or pepper spray, something to slice or poke with. When I say slice or poke, we're talking about, a box cutter, a Stanley knife, screwdriver, a kitchen knife. You don't have to go out and buy some specific tools, but carrying a Stanley knife or a box cutter on you, carrying a screwdriver or something you can poke, all of this shit, ice pick, whatever the hell you got to carry on you. And last but not least, for those who are comfortable, a damn firearm. Some type of firearm, some way of defending yourself. But if pepper spray or mace is all you're really comfortable carrying, damn it, carry that. But I could not ever, in good faith, advise you to drive completely unarmed, even though that is what the terms of service from both Uber and Lyft require. Don't do it. It's your own life you're putting at risk. Nevertheless, it is your boy Tim. Hopefully these safety tips make some sense to you. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button. See you in the next